let's start by talking to Hannah, pronoun she, her, calling in from Nudibranch Calculus. Little colorful sea slugs doing some advanced mathematics. That's what she wrote. I don't know what else NC could stand for. Hannah is a theist, and it says here that her husband called in earlier. He's an atheist and encouraged her to call as well. Hannah, you are on the line with Forrest and Aaron. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Never had a bad day. Really quick, you said your husband's an atheist and encouraged you to call in. Is that right?
Kind of. So he actually called in because he had a question and wanted to ask it. And I was like, well, I mean, if they have time for me, I'll talk too. I actually talked to you, Forrest, not too long ago about my son. And so you told me to call back to talk about my my beliefs and my struggle that I'm going through. So I told him, I was like, we can both call, I guess, and do that. So yeah, sure. He's here with me.
Are you driving? Are you driving right now?
I'm not. He is.
Okay, cool. Just as long as you're not behind the wheel while you're on the phone with us. Sweet chicken. No. Yeah. Okay, cool. Is that my first question was going to be, are you familiar with the show? Do you understand what this is? Because so if you already have, that's great. If you've already talked to me, that's awesome. I want to make sure that you are familiar with what you were getting into, because it has happened before where atheists will encourage theists to call a show like this, and then they are taken aback by an uncomfortable conversation they didn't want to have. So I just wanted to make sure you knew what this show was and everything.
I'm aware.
Okay, great.
I knew the next time that
So what exactly did you want to talk about today?
Are you there?
Yep, I'm here. I'm sorry, you cut out for a second, but I think we understand.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Yeah, you cut out for a second, but we're all here. What exactly did you want to talk about today?
So I've been very happy in my closet, and that's sort of where I've identified myself for the past, I don't know, 20 years. It's basically, I don't talk about religion. I don't talk about sexuality. I mean, I am pansexual. I
think we lost her connection, or at least it's quiet.
Yeah.
I definitely have a lot of...
Oh, there you are. Hey, we lost you for a minute.
Okay, are you there?
Yes, I think you might be losing connection. I don't know if you're driving through a bad area or something like that.
I was connecting to the Bluetooth of the car my husband said. I'm sorry. So I turned my Bluetooth off. Okay. We're good. But yeah, so basically I've really avoided the conversation of religion and sexuality as much as possible. And my closet, for the first time that I've been in that's warm, that has snacks, is feeling very small. My son has come out, and I want to support him through that. My sister has just become engaged to a woman and has openly told that to my parents. And I'm now having to confront all of this stuff that I've ignored. And so I've really been quarreling with the whole inner fight of, I know there are so many things about the Bible that I don't believe. The Bible is written by man, whether or not it was inspired by God, whether or not it's verbatim what God wanted to say. You're telling me that an immortal being had humans write a Bible and not pervert it in any way. I don't believe that happened. There are selfish things, there are terrible things in there. However, I'm also quarreling with how can something not exist, I guess. And I'm not sure if it's just a feeling, and I'm not sure if it's just a trauma response to, this is what I was told my entire life, so it's what I'm supposed to believe. And I know that, there are a lot of things that aren't explained. I'm really struggling to figure out how I'm supposed to exist in a world where God doesn't, if all I've been taught from birth is God exists and you are his bitch. So that's kind of that.
That's a phenomenal summary. Aaron, do you want to start us off?
So how about we start with the thing that you use to motivate, keep believing in some sort of God? Ultimately, why is there something rather than nothing? And that seems to be the big go-to for something we don't understand, we don't know why. Therefore, something must have made us in that way. But as the quick sum up response to that is, if the universe needs a cause for it, why doesn't God? And whatever excuse you might give for why God doesn't need an explanation for why he exists, it seems like that same explanation can work just fine for the universe as we see it. The only difference is we know the universe exists and God is at best a hypothesis. So it really should not be that motivating, other than to say, I don't know how the universe came to be. Man, I really wish we could do this science thing and find that out.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing that I have. It's like it sounds like the best arguments that we have is just like, I don't know how this shit got here, and like that's not a thing. And so like it's if you have questions, you should have questions, and you should explore those questions. You shouldn't invent answers. You know what I mean?
Right. And I know that whenever I was younger, like, you know, I was very active in church, like in Sunday school. And then as I moved up, you know, I was in youth and we did Awanas and we did, you know, I mean, like I was fully engulfed in church, and it wasn't just, and I know that this is a youthful sort of like naive mentality here, but it was a thing that I sincerely felt. Like, you know, I remember feeling the things that I would be told and like having those reactions and having that understanding. Like I remember like inside feeling these things. And so it's, I know that a lot of it is grooming and a lot of it is, God, just trauma and manipulation. But I'm struggling to not believe it. I'm struggling to, because conceptually and logically, you know, it doesn't make sense. Religion doesn't make sense. I understand that. And I feel that now. And I've already come to terms with the, what if there is no heaven and there is no hell? You know, like how, what, like, to imagine a world where that's just it. Like, you know, I've always heard when somebody passes, you know, they go home, they're going to a better place and whatever. And you feel that and you cling to that and to accept that, you know, my kid does not get that when he dies. I don't get that when I die. My husband doesn't get that when he dies. We just end that. That's a hard pill to swallow when you've been told otherwise your entire life. And I don't know how to feel the logic in the same way that I was feeling the religion, because I feel like that's where the disconnect is. I feel like because I don't feel it, because it's not like it's not making that emotional connection with me to sever that tie. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It does. And that's one of the things that like we hear a lot from theists who are calling in, and they're like, well, if you're an atheist, you have no meaning to your life. There's no connection. How can you explain love and morality and wonder and all these things? And that's why one of the things that I always I try to promote when people are talking about like religion, when people are talking about science, actually, if I'm teaching evolution or if I'm talking about the Big Bang, whatever like that, I try to incorporate some of that wonder and some of that majesty and some of that excitement, because not only does it make for better TV, but it reaches people like that who are used to their understanding of reality necessarily having to have that component and feeling very empty and very lost without that. So that's a totally normal thing you're experiencing. And what I would say is just like at this, it sucks all of the asses in the weirdest of ways. And so just like, no one's saying it doesn't, but it isn't necessarily like it is a bad situation you're in, but it doesn't have to have bad consequences. You can, find ways to if you go out and find some meaning and some joy and some wonder and some excitement about the natural world or about life free from these religious chains, I think you could then take the time to like develop something that actually makes you smile and gives you that sense of importance and of purpose, for lack of a better word, that you're missing out on. When I talk about evolution, like it's not just this story in a book. It's written all over your body. If you understand how it works, you can see the vestigial structures on you. You can see the history in the way that your bones are shaped, in the way that your muscles work, in the way that your brain works. You can see the limitations of your body as constrained by the adaptations of creatures that lived 1 million, 2 million, 3 million years before you. Like, these are things that you can now feel connected to the natural world around you, because everywhere you go is a family reunion and everything's related to everybody. And you can see homologies, even deep homologies of different creatures. And you can understand life on a fundamental level and see that everybody out there is just living and everything is just trying to live. And you feel now that this tree and this cockroach and this bacteria and this gopher are all equal participants in the world with you, and you feel so much more connected to them. And that's a wonderful thing. And then you also feel connected to deep time, to billions of years of cosmic expansion and stars exploding and planets forming and this planet developing life, and that life evolving and changing and developing throughout millions and billions of years. Like, that's something that you now are not just reading on a page. It jumps off of the page and you are now connected to it. And that is something worth experiencing and worth diving into. And it's so much more meaningful to feel that connection to the physical world around you that you can actually interact with and prove fucking exists, and then cherish and embrace and celebrate this one life that you know you have and this one family that you are so happy to be a part of, and to give them your very best and give yourself your very best, because you know there's nothing else after this, or at least you're not banking on that. Maybe there is, who knows, but you're not hanging your hat on that possibility, because holy shit, there is so much here for you to enjoy and to work hard on and to take advantage of. And like, that kind of mindset, I feel, is something that could help to replace that and fill in those blanks for you a little bit. And it's real. And it's what gets me out of bed in the morning. It makes me happy as shit to think about. It's old Richard Feynman. You stop and think about this stuff, and you really get the pleasure out of science when you really stop and think about the reality of it. And that, I think, maybe for someone who's in a theistic position right now, feeling very abandoned and very cold and very lost and very alone by the possibility of taking away their special privileged place in the universe, I think that might be something worth exploring for you. But that's just me.
Yeah. Yeah. See, and as you're talking about that, this is the part that gets me, because as you're talking about this, it's enthralling. Like, I'm excited. It sounds awesome. You know, I really love learning. I love knowledge. I love understanding how things work. All of these things are fascinating for me. But then I interact with my parents, and I talked before about my brother who's special needs, and I'm responsible for him. And
never interact with your parents. That's awful.
Yeah. So then I get around them, and it's just any choice that I make outside of their perception of how my Southern Baptist life should be is not only me doing the wrong thing, it's me doing the wrong thing and attacking them personally.
Yep.
It is why are you doing this to me? You're breaking my heart. You're doing this to me. And it's not about them, but there's no reasoning. And I'm stuck dealing with that in an effort to deal with my brother. So I think that may be also part of the trauma struggle that I'm having, is figuring out, why is it okay for me to do what they say or not do what they say, but it's not okay to have my own opinion. And I don't know. And I don't know. I don't know. It's a struggle. I just need to figure out.
Yeah, that's just narcissism and abuse and shitty. And I'm sorry you're having to deal with that, sincerely. And what's crazy about what with religious people who pull that, because I've been there. I've experienced people who will, why are you attacking my religion by not participating in it actively? I had one lady get mad, like actually like offended that I didn't mention that it was Easter. It wasn't this year. It was, you know, I talked about like, hey, this Sunday, this is happening. And it's also Easter, and you didn't say that. And this is persecution of Christians. And it's like, I didn't even say anything about you, and that's the problem. So, dude, I get it. Man, it absolutely sucks. And you could, if you wanted to have some fun, do the same thing. Hey, you believe in the monster in the sky that's going to send me to hell for using my brain, and you said you have a gay sister. Why are you doing this to her? Why are you doing this? I have this special needs family member. Why did your God cause this? You're doing this to me by oppressing me with this. It won't work, but it's funny. But
it's funny.
I think you at this point in your life, you mentioned a few words a while ago. You were talking about like indoctrination and your upbringing and all these things. And I think that you need to remember that you're grown and you've got your own family to worry about. You've got your kid, you've got your husband, you've got yourself. And those should be more important than your parents. And to them, your parents should consider you and your child and your family more important than their own comfort. That's, as far as I understand, how parenting is supposed to be. So like, for you, I think that you need to set that boundary, if not with them, then with yourself, of what you are going to allow them to aggravate you with, what you are going to allow them to put on you, how far you're going to allow them to frustrate and influence you, and decide, you know what? I deserve the best of me. I don't deserve what they fucking want me to feel and what they want me to think and what they are telling me to do. After all, I grew up out of that shit. I'm not continuing it on purpose. So I'm going to be my own person. I deserve the best version of me. My husband deserves the best version of me. My child deserves the best version of me. None of them signed up to be connected to my parents. Your husband didn't marry your parents. He married you. Your kid didn't choose to be connected to your parents. They're connected to you. You give the best of yourself to them and find your own path and find your own way and choose your own destiny. And I understand it's fucking frustrating and scary to disconnect yourself. I'm not telling you to go no contact or any crazy shit like that unless you want to. But like, I'm saying I understand it's frustrating and scary to be like, I was doing so good and then I went and talked to my parents and they just pulled me back down into the shit. And now I'm miserable again and I'm having these problems again. You get to decide how long that goes on. And I think you get to decide how long you let that affect you in that way. And you can start building strategies right now to disconnect yourself from that. That's what I would recommend you do. And I say that from experience as someone who has done that shit. It sucks and it's hard and it's scary, but it is very, very, very worth it.
You didn't have to be right so loud. Yeah, I mean, I think that's sort of where I am. I think that I've been like really comfortable being in this bubble of I don't have to confront this and I can just avoid conflict and avoid the whole situation. And I just feel like my happy safety bubble is coming to an end. And so now that's where I am. Yeah. I am definitely taking all of that to heart and I genuinely appreciate it.
Hey, you know what?
May I quickly add a little bit to this as well? Because the one thing I'm a little bit worried is that with the feeling that you're saying that you feel in the closet, you feel lonely, I want to remind you, there are atheists out here that are looking for community that would love to have you join that community as well, that are here to give support, to be people to talk about these things. I also assume your husband is there to support you as well. And there are support networks out there. One of the organizations that we've supported here before is Recovering from Religion, that they are there for just this sort of thing of people that feel like they've been traumatized by a religious upbringing and they need someone to talk to that actually has training in being that kind of support. So these sorts of tools are out there, but most importantly, having friends or other relationships in this secular community that we're trying to build and make us feel a little bit less alone, especially if the people important to us make us feel lonely.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll have to definitely do some research and find some resources.
I really appreciate your honesty and like how serious you've been about this. That's incredibly cool. I can't wait for you to call back and tell us about your deconstruction. I do want to throw out like just something you said there at the very end. You talk about your safe little bubble is bursting and you're not in this comfort zone anymore. Dude, take my fucking word for it if you wouldn't mind. I get how much that sucks and how scary that sounds from where you are at right now. I guarantee you in a couple of months, maybe a couple of years after that happens, you are going to be so much more comfortable and so much safer and so much. You will have different problems. You're not going to have no problems. You will have different new fun problems, but it will be so much better to be living on your own terms, in your own way, on your own, by your own mind, led by your own heart, and not having that constraint and that weight that you didn't even realize was a fucking weight. Then you've been carrying this millstone around your neck for so long, feeling like that millstone is actually a pair of wings. I telling you, I have been there with family members and disconnecting. Just like I said, it doesn't have to be a crazy ass no contact thing, but just getting out of that bubble, you'll realize very quickly that that bubble was actually a prison. And I think that I think you're going to love it. I really, really do. I know it sounds crazy right now, and I know it sounds emotional and scary and heartbreaking and problematic. I get it. I'm not trying to devalue your feelings. I'm not trying to gaslight or belittle you at all. I need you to trust me. It is so much fucking better on the outside.
Okay. I'll let you know.
I believe in you, Hannah. I believe in you. I have faith in you.
I appreciate the faith. Am I good to pass over to my husband? He had a quick question, or do you guys have other calls today?
We do, but we can take a very quick question.
Okay, here he is.
Hi.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Hello. Yes.
Yes. I just had a quick question for Aaron.
Hell yeah.
Because I know he's well versed in physics and astronomy and stuff. And
I pretend.
I've been do what?
I pretend to be.
I'm sorry.
I pretend to be informed.
Well, I've just been kind of like throwing this around in my head for a little while and not really sure how to actually do the Google to search up whether or not this is even feasible. But from what I understand about the big rip theory is that the expansion is going to continue to increase, like accelerate more and more and more until even the bonds that hold atoms together get ripped apart and all that. And from what I understand from like spaghettification of falling into a black hole, where it like starts pulling apart gluons, or not glue, quarks, but the force to pull two quarks apart is enough to create another pair of quarks.
Mm-hmm.
Could that not create a runoff effect with the expansion of space where quarks are getting ripped apart and multiplying, and then the whole universe becomes just a sea of quarks, and then gravity takes back over and the big rip becomes the big crunch?
So I would have to think about what would be happening there. I'm thinking it wouldn't be able to, it would not be able to create more mass in the way that all of a sudden the gravity would increase, because ultimately if the gluons are being ripped apart, or so to say the protons and neutrons are being ripped apart and forming new particles and such, that means it still required energy in the first place, E equals mc squared, so that energy had to be there in the first place, and if that energy wasn't already collapsing the universe, it's not going to collapse it now when it's now in the form of particles. But I think more importantly is, I think the premise is wrong. Our best evidence suggests that the strength of dark energy is either constant or the most recent research is trying to suggest it's actually weakening with time. So right now, the science seems to be against the big rip scenario.
Oh, I thought that was not necessarily like general consensus, but like among the most popular theory of like the end of the universe, even if there will be one. Like
right now, the most subscribed to scenario for the universe is that the universe is not going to be ripped apart or collapse back down, but will continue to expand and get bigger and colder, and eventually heat and energy will be so dissipated that time will become meaningless because motion will be non-existent and one moment to the next will look identical. It'll be pointless to even talk about time once we go far enough into the future. That seems to be what is called the heat death of the universe. And
right. Where basically all the energy is homogenized. Like,
yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
In some ways, it's the most realistic form of the adage of H.P. Lovecraft. After strange aeons, even death may die.
Okay.
Hell yeah. Good call in.
All right. Well, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Hannah's husband. We appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon, Lee.
Thank you, guys. We appreciate you.
Bye.
Yeah.
Good night.
What a nice call.
Eric, do you want to learn how to Mongolian throat sing? Check this out.
No,
you try.
No, keep that shit to yourself. Don't hear it.
Anyway, thanks for watching that clip. Patreon.com/calltheline is where you could support us. And maybe subscribe and like the video because it was a killer video. Or maybe it wasn't. Was it a Forrest video? If this was a Forrest video, you don't have to click like. If it was an Eric video, go ahead and click dislike.